What is the perfect investment? Let's go over a few of them and compare how they compare to each other. Let's start with something. Say, CDs. I was working with someone recently that has a tremendous amount of money in CDs, and they were happy because originally they had these CDs and they were earning 0.1, 0.2%, and with recent rate increases by the Fed on the interest rates, they're now earning 4.5%, 5.5%, and they're much happier about this. Does that make it it's typically a very low risk investment? Unfortunately, it does not provide a very good return. If you had your money over the last 5 years in bonds, you would have lost tremendous amount of purchasing power because you would not have been earning enough interest on those things in CDs, lending your money to your local bank. You would not have earned enough money to just keep your purchasing power where it is, right? So even though 4.5%, 5.5% may sound good to you, over time it's not good, especially when the government thinks that inflation or is telling us that inflation is at 7%, and when most experts are saying it's probably 10 to 12%. You're losing if you have $1 million in a CD. You are losing purchasing power to the tune of $100,000 to $120,000 a year of purchasing power, and that is no good. Not a perfect investment. Another one that a lot of people use, that I see people use that have worked with big banks, investment banks, the name brand banks to manage their portfolios. They love to put them into a traditional portfolio, or it's a very traditional mix of stocks and bonds, something like 60% stocks and 40% bonds. So let's talk about bonds. Bonds suffer again from the same thing that CDs suffer from, but not as bad. But if you look at the performance of bond over the last 2 decades, the last 20 years, bonds have not kept pace with inflation. So if you have $1 million in bonds, again, you are losing purchasing power. You may be growing that at a slight rate, maybe $30,000, $50,000 a year, but your purchasing power is shrinking, like I said, by $100,000 to $120,000 a year. That is not a good return on investment. It's not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of your money. So bonds are not a perfect investment. Stocks. Now, individual stocks at times can be amazing investments. There are stocks every year that blow up and go crazy. The problem with this is identifying those stocks. There are people who get lucky and pick stocks, and maybe people who bought companies like Amazon or Apple or Tesla early on and they blew up, and good for them. And maybe some people view that as not such a hard thing to pick, but you would be surprised because people who work for a living managing funds, hedge funds, mutual funds, things like that, they cannot keep pace with just the average growth of the market. They lose over a 1 to 3 year period. Most people do not beat the market. And when you push that out to a decade to 10 years or more, almost nobody beats the market, right? And what do I mean when I say the market? The average growth of the market as a whole, of like all the stocks out there. You would be better to buy an index fund that has a little bit of every stock out there than to pick individual stocks. Time and studies have shown that you may think you're a genius. We all have that little bit of, I know this one's going to be a winner in us. And it's just over time, it's been proven to be wrong. So stocks are not the perfect investment. Stocks also can have tax issues, right? If you buy stocks in index funds, mutual funds, you can have drag on those things that slow your growth down, and that's fees. 1 to 2% fees on a lot of mutual funds over time will steal millions of dollars from you if you are a high income entrepreneur or a high net worth entrepreneur or brand, like an athlete, an artist, or a business owner, right? You will lose in fees millions of dollars over the course of your investing career if you are investing with a big name bank, because they will use your money in traditional, safe, low risk, high, not necessarily high reward. They don't bill it as that, but they do bill it as low risk. But essentially, they're taking your money and making money off of it to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars in fees every year that will add up over time. Plus, that's tens of thousands of dollars that won't be working for you over time, which increases that amount of money that you lose. So not a perfect investment. Real estate. Many of you have done very well with real estate. Real estate does keep pace with inflation. Sometimes it outpaces it. The other thing with real estate is it requires maintenance, it requires upkeep, it requires management. There is a lot of other effort that goes into real estate. And so if you offload this to other people, this management, this maintenance, the work of maintaining the real estate and your investments in real estate, if you offload that to other people, that also dips into your profit. If you invest through a REIT, an REIT, a real estate investment trust, where you have lots of them, again, you will make money on those. You will mainly keep pace with inflation, but you will lose the potential to grow your wealth and grow your money through the management fees that are charged within these REITs. So real estate, perfect investment? No. Are there sectors of real estate that will beat it? Yes, there are. Light industrial real estate is one that's been really booming over the last 5 or so years. It's growing here in America, and it's a great sector. But then again, you need to be investing with someone who knows what they're doing. You want to have people that are managing that. To just get into it yourself, the odds are it may not prove to be a very good investment for you. And do you want to have that distraction of having to manage your investments? And make sure you're paying the taxes on it, make sure you're paying the fees on it, make sure you're doing all the books and everything like that. You probably don't want that distraction. You want to be able to focus on what it is that makes you a powerful brand, a powerful income earner, right? What makes you a good entrepreneur, solopreneur, like a business owner, a small business owner, or an artist or an athlete, something like that. You want to focus on your craft or on your trade, not on managing your investments. So one last one, of course, if you watch any of my videos, you know what's coming next. And that it is not the one thing you thought would come, but another thing that you'll hear me talk about, and that's index funds. If you want something that's low maintenance, has low fees, low tax burden, and is so easy to manage in your portfolio, index funds is one of the places to go. But I like something even better than index funds. I think there's an even more perfect investment. Although I will say at this point in time, there is no perfect investment because some of these you will want to use in different situations. But for the most part, when you are 10, 20, 30 years away from retirement or from when you're not going to be putting as much effort into your work as you do now, you want growth. You don't want balance. You don't want traditional portfolios. You want things that will grow for you over time. And I think the best asset that will grow over time is Bitcoin. And I love some other parts about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is supply and demand driven first and foremost. The supply is fixed, static, and actually shrinking, and you can find out about that in other videos that I have. And the demand is open-ended. It is constantly growing and will constantly grow. As a matter of fact, it's going to explode because there's going to be so much demand created and generated by 8 billion people buying it, by retirement funds buying it, by governments buying it, by businesses buying it. And you are going to see people spinning up AIs to provide services for people, and they will be running off of it. And one person, one of those 8 to 10 billion people over the next 20 to 30 years could spin off 100 or thousands even of AIs that run off of Bitcoin and will increase that demand. And when you have a fixed or slightly shrinking supply like Bitcoin has, and you have an open-ended demand, that means that price is going to grow. It's going to grow strong. It's going to continue to grow for years, for decades, right? I think it's the best asset. Perfect? No. There are some things that make Bitcoin perfect, but it is better than holding real estate and dealing with management and tax issues. It's free. There's no fees like index funds or stocks. There's no fees to hold Bitcoin on address or wallet on the network. You will not be charged over time. It will grow and grow and grow in value for you without any management, without any effort on your part, without any taxes. As long as you don't sell it, it is It is a very, very good investment. It can be hard at times to get it. It can be hard at times to sell it, depending on where you live. If you live in the United States or other places here in the West, you're in a very good position because it's easy to buy and sell Bitcoin when you need to invest in it. So it is one of the best assets you could be using if you are a high income entrepreneur, solopreneur, artist, athlete, business owner, or if you are high net worth or high income earner in those areas. It is a wonderful asset. So recap, is there a perfect asset? No, there's not. No perfect investment. But there are different situations where different ones are going to help you. And first and foremost, you need to consider Bitcoin. This is why I set up the First Step Bitcoin community on School. And there'll be a link in the description so you can join there. But I'm helping people get started in Bitcoin First Step for everyone. And then in particular, I have small groups and online, in person, and one-on-one where I work with high net worth individuals and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, athletes, artists, business owners, etc. People that have brands. I help you to make sure you're turbocharging your investments and not leaving in some traditional place where the value that should be yours is getting sucked out by somebody else or by another management firm. So anyways, join the First Step Bitcoin community to start learning more about this. And if you need some help or assistance down the road getting set up, I have options there to give you more help.